Hello and welcome back to the FPL Tom preview stream ahead of Double Game Week 28. As always, I'm joined by my good friend and, well, chat harasser. It's Jake. How are you doing, mate?
All good, mate. Thank you very much. You doing well?
I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be back doing these videos with you, mate. It's the highlight of my week, really. It really is.
It is, and it's become a regularity again after those little breaks over Christmas and then that weird 2 week break where we had that winter break for the football. It's nice to be back. Fuck the international break whenever that comes. I'm sure that's just
Two,
around the
two, two
corner.
weeks away.
Yeah, but we'll make the most of the next two streams, three streams, whatever, because it is good fun.
Mm, mm. We will. We'll make people laugh, people cry, maybe help some people out, maybe not help some people out. That's kind of the vibe you get here. As always, there will be plenty coming up in today's preview. We will be answering as many of your guys' questions as possible. We've got bed shitter of the week. We're going to go through our teams in game week 27 and, of course, what our transfer plans are for double game week 28 and the best players you should be looking to buy from the doublers in game week 28. I can see that, the chat is getting a bit spicy. Lads, let's just keep it calm. We're all friends here, all right? There's no need to be, scrapping. Just keep it calm. Keep it to just general chat, all right? If you want to take it outside, take it outside. But in here, we're all good friends. Right, let's go and take a look at bed shitter of the week. A lot of candidates again for this week. Jake, I'm going to come to you first. Who do you think shat the bed the most in game week 27?
For me, I'm going to go with, I actually can't see your graphic just yet. Don't know if I'm going to be hitting the nail on the head here or not, but
Go
I'm
on.
going to go for Marcos Senesi.
Oh, well done. Yeah, he's on there.
My reason, he is
Yeah.
nice. Yeah, so Senesi is, I think he shut the bed for a fair few of us as yeah, you know what? He's finally come up on the screen. I actually don't think I've ever seen what he looks like before, so that's nice. Didn't know he had a blonde little quiff. But anyway, he shat bed, getting injured in the first half. He was guaranteed it looked well, he was guaranteed a clean sheet and he was a guaranteed starter for this double game week coming up. So he's he screwed quite a few people over because I do think we suggested to bring him in over the majority. I think only really Alfie Doherty was like a higher person we probably recommended to bring in defensively wise for this game double game week coming up. So it's not only shat bed for the game week we've just had, but it has also put a few people in a bit of a dilemma, a bit of a sticky situation come this week. So yeah, he's I think he's a very solid shout.
Yeah, I mean, he's massively screwed me over as well, to be honest. Brought him in a few weeks ago, picked up a point. Brought him in this week, picked up another point. And you know what? It is what it is. Yeah, now I'm sat in a position where I'm probably going to have to take him out and don't have him for the week I actually want him for. So
Mm.
I'm very much in agreement on that one for your bedshitter of the week. For me, I think I'm going to go with the other man on screen. He was, I still can't believe his ownership is this high. It's 40% for Kieran Trippier. It looks like he picked up an injury as well, coming off in the 56th minute, I believe. So,
Oh, that's a bit.
Newcastle went on to keep a clean sheet as well. If he just lasted another 4 minutes, there's some nice clean sheet points. Quite pricey as well. And I still can't believe 40% of the game actually own him. I haven't seen him in anybody's team for ages. So that one did shock me when I went and
Maybe
had a look at
that's
that.
the percentage. There must be a good like 39% that just haven't touched their team for a while then.
They all own Kieran Trippier is what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Right, so those are going to be our bed shitters of the week. The poll is going up now, so do get your votes in for that one. Kieran Trippier or Marco Senesi for your bed shitter of the week for game week 27. There it is. Right, we are going to move on. We're going to keep the show quick and fast this week. We'll probably end up
Quick
dragging
and
it
fast.
quick
Go
and
on, lad.
fast. We'll probably end up dragging it out somewhere and something will go wrong. Someone's computer will shit bed or internet will go. Something will happen. So it won't end up being quick and fast.
No,
It might be
definitely won't.
long, arduous, and limp. So yeah, those are the two extremes.
Well,
Those are the two extremes you get with me: quick and fast, or long, arduous, and limp. So Take your pick, ladies. Right, let's move on. Let's go and take a look at how Jake's team did in game week 27. Jake, some very high scoring players and then some that have really, really let you down. That bench as well, very intriguing. Talk us through that while I just go and quickly turn off my radiator because it's getting quite warm in here.
Yeah, I think you've set that up very nicely, considering the fact that I think midfield onwards, barring the Neto injury or whatever happened to him, he was always a bit of a doubt. I think that's just been a bit of a stupendous run-in for those 5 players in particular. Dominic Solanke, there was that risk. I said to you, I think, on that deadline stream, I messaged asking, should I bench Neto, should I bench Kudus in place of Solanke? And you were like, I'm not telling you in case you tell. I tell you one, and the other one does better. And so I went with my gut, and I was wrong. I went for Kudus. Didn't go for Neto, and in fact, I should have gone for Kudus. I should have gone for Neto. To be fair, I should have just left Solanke on the bench and sacrificed the point because he was an injury doubt, and Kudus ended up getting an assist.
True.
Like you have alluded to as well, my bench has got God. I think I worked it out. I could have been definitely in the 80s if I swapped the right players around. So it could have been a much better week. I was never going to put Areola in over Neto. I was fully banking on a Bournemouth clean sheet. So that's just the way it is. I think people that would have benefited on Areola that play this game still and haven't just accidentally got him in won't have had Neto in. Because I don't think many people would have expected him away to Everton to save a penalty and like get however many bonus points, save points, this, that, and the other. I don't understand how Everton didn't score more. They really can't hit a barn door at the moment. So yeah, that was just one of those really. Take that on the chin. Neto still did his bit, so I'm happy with that. It's the defence that really hurts. Alfie Doherty, classic, getting the assist when I've benched him. I think it's just one of those rogue weeks really for the defence because of course Villa don't like to keep clean sheets anyway, but he's one of those longevity ones, Langley, because they've got that game week when hardly anyone else plays in a couple of weeks. Lewis Dunk, but Brighton are hot and cold, and when they do score, he's usually involved in a goal or assist somehow. So it just was one of those, and of course, bedshitter Senesi really didn't help my defensive train. But it's considering how bad my defence did, I think I've done quite well to get just above the average, 4 points above the average.
Yeah,
Haaland captain, and I mean, like I was earning an iron over captain. The captaincy shouts that you were suggesting, you went for Saka. It was only 2 points in it in the end, so that's not too bad. Once again, Watkins is clearing everyone aside. Foden, I don't think it was anyone's real suggestion, to be honest. And if people have captained him, fair play, because he was absolutely immense against United. But yeah, Ollie Watkins is just every week he just seems to get in that. He just seems to be wiping the floor with Haaland for points. And yet, still, as we will move on to my team, I'm still not going to captain him. But yeah, it's good that I finally at least accepted that Watkins needs to be in my fantasy team.
Yeah, I think he's currently on course to be the highest scoring non-premium asset in the history of fantasy football.
Wow.
So I think that kind of outlines the season that he's having at the moment for Aston Villa. Absolutely cleaning the floor with people that don't have him. I still think he's just below 50% owned as well, which is absolutely mental considering the form that him and Villa are showing.
I assume he's still got the most points in the game as well.
Yeah, I'd imagine
he was previous to this week, so I can't imagine Foden was a point behind him, has now overtaken him.
No. Good. Well, I think there's, like you said, there's definitely some positive to take away from this week. Some very good scoring players. Captaincy, out of the 3 that me and you were kind of suggesting, it didn't quite work out, but at least Haaland scored. It did look like for a long time in that game.
Amrabat definitely had Haaland in this team as captain.
And like you said, it is a little bit unfortunate with the benching, but I get why you played Neto over Areola, so I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. And then the Kudus one, I think, is just a little bit unlucky. So
it could have gone either way, couldn't it?
Exactly.
Solanke had a few chances anyway. Of course, Semenyo scores again.
He's fully going to slap in this double game week, isn't he?
I know.
Right, let's move on and take a look how your team is looking ahead of this double game week. I've left Senesi in just because we're still waiting for any kind of confirmation on that one. I've also benched Chris Richards, but you might shoot me down and potentially swap in for someone else. But talk us through your transfer plans, what you're thinking with captaincy as well, and what maybe you're going to do with Senesi or any of the other players you've got injured as well.
So I don't actually. I'm just waiting to see. Oh, right, okay. So I've just seen what you've got and what I've got on my team because I have fiddled around with it since you've done this.
Oh yeah.
You're right with Neto. You're right with Doherty. Dunk at home to Forest. I do feel like that. He just needs to play. I've kept Senesi in as well. I don't think even if you have, unless you have news that he's ruled out for this double game week, I don't think I'll take him out. Even if he's like, oh, a doubt for the game against Sheffield United, I just think I'll keep him in. I don't think he's worth me sacrificing my transfer for. Of course, if like you say, if he's ruled out of both games, then it's probably worth me bringing in another doubler.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I think I'll keep Senesi. I have got Chris Richards playing. Just trying to work out who I've benched. So at the moment, I've actually benched Ollie Watkins, but of course that probably will change.
Oof.
But I was having a look at the previous fixtures for Villa and Spurs, and the person that's most involved in that game is bloody Douglas Luiz. He scores and assists in every game. It's absolutely mental. But yeah, Watkins is the guy on my bench at the moment. I'm not too sure how I'm going to work around that because I do think Chris Richards should play at home to Luton. I think they were unfortunate. They lasted a good 75 minutes, did they, against Spurs before it just they just ran out of wind. They were pretty decent against Burnley. I know they relied on a red card to win, but I think at home against Luton, I think they should be too much, and I think it could be a bit of a cagey, like 1-0 or even a 0-0 to be fair. So that's why I think Chris Richards, I think bringing him into my team, I think this is the kind of game where I do need to be playing him and having faith. Then I've got the midfield four, Saka, Foden, Son, Kudus. I'm going to stick with that. I don't think I can take Foden out after his performance. He's got a really good record against Liverpool as well. So even if like Liverpool were to come out on top in that game, I wouldn't bet against Foden to have some kind of involvement in the game. Yeah, so it's just the dilemma of what I should do with Watkins because I think that is borderline. It is bordering on me being stupid again and going for like a really daft decision. But I think the only saving grace I've got is I'm prioritising potential doublers. I've got to have Solanke, got to have Haaland. I know I said I'd triple captain, but I'm really not sure. But it could happen. It could happen. I mean, the closer to the weekend we get, the more likely I am to just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to triple captain Solanke. But like with Senesi injured, like those doubts, I think I've got some other things to maybe consider. I'll let you talk about any potential of Haaland dealings when it comes to your team. But for an actual transfer myself, I'm not too sure. I think I'm willing to wait until the deadline stream. If we hear anything unfortunate about Senesi like missing both the games, then I'll probably be inclined to actually double up on Luton, just because I don't really fancy Zabani like to be involved too much. Yes, he's more likely to keep a couple of clean sheets than maybe a Luton player is, but I don't know. For some reason, Menji came to my head. He had a couple of headers which he probably should have done better with against Villa, so he does seem to get up quite a bit. But attacking wise, I don't really think I fancy anyone else. No one in midfield really springs to mind. I'm happy with my midfield as is. The only thing that you, of course, could consider is the fact that Pedro Neto's injured. So the one place I could maybe consider is if I'm not going to go for the doubler. Oh, sorry, boss, I just catch myself on my feet. Another reason why, of course, I'd go double Luton is the fact that they play next week as well.
Yep.
Whereas Bournemouth don't. So just be a bit of a smarter move in the long run, I think.
So you're on non-free hit, right, in 29 currently?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, like if I make this week's transfer and next week's transfer wisely, I'll have 8 players playing, which I think is more than enough from the conversations we've had on this stream.
Yeah.
But of course, like with Neto missing, I'm going to have to make some kind of move there, maybe to bring someone in. Not sure if that's something I do next week. If I just wait and hold off for Senesi news, I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I think, well, I know for a fact we've got Haaland captain there. I will be captaining Dominic Solanke. It's just whether I put that triple captainship on him.
I hope you do, mate. I hope you do. It'd be good. It'd be just a bit of good entertainment. You know what?
Yeah.
Coming into next week's stream, you've got a big smile on your face because Dominic Solanke's got 8 goals. You know, that's what we want to see.
To be fair, the way Sheffield are playing, he'll probably get them in that game alone.
Exactly, lad. They are very bad. I'm just going to try and talk you into it throughout this stream, to be honest.
All right, lad, you spoke to me into it.
That's it. That's all it took. In terms of your team, actually, I think if we get positive news around Senesi, you might be just fine to roll.
And then you can just focus on those 2 transfers for whoever they may be come next week.
Exactly. See who's in good form, because it's only going to be realistically probably 1 or 2 kind of game week punt. And I was looking at Forest, interestingly.
They've got a naughty little run coming up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking like maybe if you wait till next week, right? And then you could get someone like they've got Luton, Crystal Palace, Fulham as kind of a free. So if you delayed that wild card to maybe 32 or 31, someone like Morgan Gibbs White for Neto maybe next week.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Brighton this week. Brighton aren't amazing at defending. They're very hit and miss.
They're just. I think it may be wise though. I think if I'm going to bring Gibbs White in, I think I would just wait a week because, of course, I've got I've got Lewis Dunk in my defence, haven't I? So
yeah.
I don't need to make that change, and it just gives me that extra week just to make sure that everyone at Forest is all right.
True.
I think Hudson-Odoi looks decent as well for them.
He does. Alanga doesn't look too bad, but he just can't seem to score.
Can't hit the net, can he?
No.
Yeah.
No, but he does look an all right option. So there's definitely some tasty ones coming up for that blank. So I think if we do get positive news, I think you could definitely roll. You could still even roll and just put Chris Richards in, to be honest.
Well, Chris Richards is in for me. I've had Watkins.
Do you think that's a wise choice?
No, it's not, and it's just I think I want Chris Richards in because I feel like this is the type of game he should be playing for me if I've brought it. But it's just who I am to bench. I think I'd be more inclined to bench Dunk than Richards.
Okay, all right. I'm just looking at the City team news for tonight. Phil Foden on the bench. So that bodes well for the Liverpool game.
Yeah, it really does.
That is very tasty. So is KDB as well.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if he were to play tonight because they're in a comfortable position already and they've got Liverpool. He'll start against Liverpool unless he's injured. I don't see Pep playing any games with Phil Foden in the form he's in. Is Haaland playing, I take?
Yeah, Haaland's playing.
Yes.
Cool. Right.
Before
we move on to my team, let's go through and answer some of your guys' questions. What have we got? Question, what do you suggest I do, Tom? I only have a bench boost and a wild card in my hand. Current rank 5,303. Well done, Louise. Current players for Game Week 29. Areola, Doherty, Emerson, Robinson, Bowen, Son and Watkins. Potentially 7 playing. Could be 9 with a -4. I think you're fine. Like me and Jacob spoke about a few times on this stream. As long as you've got probably Son and Watkins for that week and then just players that play, I think you're fine. I genuinely do. I don't see there's too much upside into having those extra 2 players if you've already got Son and Watkins.
Yeah, and I think the one player, like we've just alluded to, is maybe a Forest player, and then you should be set with 8 players.
Yeah, well, even the thing is, if you've got Son, Watkins, and then other players, and then you want a free hit, realistically, you're gambling on somebody just popping up with a double-digit haul, and outside of Son and Watkins, predicting who that's going to be is, well, it's going to be impossible. You might as well just go and get a crystal ball out and hope for the best. You know what I mean? So I think, like we said, Son and Watkins are probably going to be the 2 players that you need to have if you're not free hitting, and if you are free hitting as well.
Sorry, I just decided to burp in my mouth.
Classy as ever, mate. Alex Naylor has said, Son good this weekend? I mean, you've got him in your team, Jake, so you're probably the best man to vouch for him.
I would say Son good this weekend. Yeah, I would say so. He's got a decent record against Villa. Of course, I'm an avid fan of checking what the stats are like in previous games of the same fixture. If I were to just bring it up now, I don't. I think in the last game they won, he was the goal scorer that won it for Spurs. So I don't think you can ever really doubt Son because in the weirdest games he'll turn up, and in the games you'd expect him to slap, he won't. So I think you just have to have faith in him. If you've got him in your team, then he's definitely worth it. If you don't have him in, he's definitely worth it for the next 2 weeks. And so if you're bringing him in preparation for next week, you've got to play him against Villa, I think.
Well, interestingly as well, Aston Villa have a really difficult game tomorrow evening, don't they, against Ajax?
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how kind of, they manage with kind of European football being back, quite a lot of injuries as well. You feel potentially Spurs might be able to cause a little bit of an upset here at Villa Park.
Last time Spurs won against Villa, full stop, was April 2022. And that
Okay.
was at Villa Park, and Son scored a hat-trick.
There we go. Right, Son is an absolute must-buy then for everyone this week. That's just been confirmed. Thank you for that one, Jake.
That being said, I don't think you can. I don't like to contradict teams playing too many players against each other, but I also do think, as much as I've bloody benched him for some reason, I think Watkins and Son are quite key for this week, and I would play both of them if you had them.
Yeah, yeah. All right, I can get on board with that.
Be 0-0 now, isn't it?
It will indeed. It will indeed. Nathan Rigg has said, "Hi Tom, would you say De Bruyne to Barkley for a -4 in 28, then Solanke and Senesi for Tony and a Spurs defender for a -4 in 29? This will give me 9 players in 29 to save my free hit. I have no wildcard left." Would I do the -4 for that? I don't think doing a -4 for De Bruyne to Barkley. As I know they've got this double game week, but De Bruyne to Barkley?
I wouldn't take. No, I wouldn't take De Bruyne out even against Liverpool.
No,
He's going to be on form, you'd imagine.
I mean, he's not been at the races, has he? The past few weeks, De Bruyne, and he's obviously been quite a frustrating asset to own with him being benched, picking up yellow cards, obviously blanking in the Manchester derby as well. I do get that. But I think there's a lot better assets to go for than Ross Barkley. I get he's got the game in game week 29. And he has got the double this week. But, yeah, I'm not too keen about it. And then, interestingly, if you've got no wild card left as well, I get the move for the Spurs defender. That's fine. That makes sense for Senesi in 29. The one for Solanke to Tony is a little bit concerning for me, just down to the fact that Bournemouth's fixtures are actually quite good post-blank game week 29. Everton, Palace, Luton, then they play Manchester United in game week 33. And with the way that they're going as well, you could very easily see Bournemouth potentially causing a little bit of an upset there, against
Well, they're
Manchester.
at home to them as well, aren't they?
Exactly. Then 34, there's a potential for a double game week for Bournemouth as well. So I think that move in the longer run, if you've not got a wild card, is actually going to hinder you even further than if you were to, take Tony out. Yes, you have a player for this week, but longer run taking out Solanke, that could have a detrimental impact on your rank for me then, Nathan.
Yeah, agreed with that. Bournemouth beat them 3-0 earlier in the season at Old Trafford, by the way.
There we go.
Solanke and Senesi fucking scored.
Keep them in. You heard it here first. Keep them in.
Bloody Senesi, man.
Right, what other questions have we got?
What do you think about? Here's a question. What do you think? So where we've been talking about midfield assets for Bournemouth coming up to this double game week. So you've got Clivert, you've got Sinistera, you've got Billing, you've got
Tavernier.
Who did you say?
Tavernier.
Tavernier, that's the one. And we've been saying we don't really like. There's just that risk of him being substituted or not playing and not starting. I was looking at the game, watching the game against Burnley, and I've noticed that Lewis Cook on the slide notches up quite a few assists. So I was just thinking, what's your opinion on this for a double game week punt going for Lewis Cook? Because he'll play both games.
Is he a midfielder?
Yeah, he's a centre mid. He just sits back a lot more. He's a lot more like I'm not comparing. I'm just comparing the position. He's like maybe a Rodri or a Douglas Luiz, but he does pop up with a fair amount of assists.
All right, I'm just having a Google of him. Give me a second.
My phone's jammed as well, so I can't even add any of I can't back this up with evidence. I know he got both the assists in the Burnley game.
3 assists
I've just seen
all season.
3.
3 assists all season.
That's so funny because he's got 2 against Burnley last game, and I've literally just seen him get the assist against United. So that's what prompted me to be like, he's popping up with a few assists here.
He's bloody good, this lad. So both Burnley games you've watched. I mean, to be fair, his data's pretty piss poor. Probably wouldn't recommend, in my personal opinion.
Well, moving on.
So that's a Lewis Cook hat trick confirmed right there. And I'm waiting straight away in the group chat. You're just gonna be, oh, that was a Lewis Cook goal. You see that, Tom?
No, I'm not saying he's going to score. Don't get me wrong, but I just think he just, my word, the amount of long balls he was punting forward against Burnley, he was the best player I've ever seen. I'm not going to lie to you.
Wow.
No, it was just a punt suggestion because he's someone that you can rely on to actually play in midfield, but also he has notched up 3 assists, lad.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it. You've tempted me now. Right, what other ones have we got? We've got Louise has asked game week 29, Haaland for Morris or Antonio / Tony or Werner. Probably be Carlton Morris, if anyone, to be honest, out of that list.
Haaland for Morris. Well, that takes you onto your team quite nicely, doesn't it?
It would, but there's a lot of questions to get through still here. Greg Williams says, I've just done Watkins to Muniz, the Fulham forward. He is on fire at the moment, but I just would not be taking Ollie Watkins out.
No, it's a bit of you've kind of shot yourself in the foot there because Watkins would have played as well in the 3 game week. I'd have taken Haaland or someone out if you're really going to do that.
Yeah. Agreed. Arvo, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies if I'm not. He's asked Foden or Maddison.
What, Foden or Maddison, did you say?
Yeah, for this week.
Probably Maddison. And that's not because Foden won't slap, but Maddison plays in that blank.
He does. But for me personally, this week, and just this week alone, I think Foden's the better player.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, but over the course of the next 2 weeks, will they come to regret that, or do you reckon they'll be?
Well, I mean, if they can roll the transfer and make it next week. I think Foden's slapping at the moment. Past 5 game weeks, he's top for shots. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he is a bit. He was fantastic against United, to be fair. But I would, if it was me, and of course, me making the top decisions that I do make, maybe you don't want to listen to that. But personally, if it was me, I'd maybe go a little bit more tactically and bring someone in that will play next week. I guess it depends how many players he's got already as well. So if he's going Foden and not going Maddison, but he's still got a good 7 or 8 players to play in that blank game week, then fair enough.
He said just to play this week, not to transfer, just who to start out of Foden and Maddison this week.
Oh, so he's got both of them.
Yeah.
Oh, Foden.
yeah, easy. Foden done. There we go.
Although to be fair, I'll probably play Maddison as well. So I wonder who else he's got in midfield. Like Saka would stop Maddison getting in, Foden would stop Maddison getting in, and Son would stop Maddison getting in. Other than that, well, who did Chelsea have?
What,
Newcastle at home
or this week?
No, this week. I'm just trying to think of like why Maddison would be sat on his bench this week. So I was just trying to think of who would actually keep him out. I guess Palmer could play as well at home to Newcastle. You might want to back him.
I prefer Palmer over Maddison.
Yeah.
No, cool. Let's move on to the next one. Let's try and whip through some of these quite quickly. Joel has asked, hey Tom, do I get Mengi in for double Luton defence for the next 2 weeks, or Kirkes in this week and Reguilon next week for a -4? Top of my head, I'm thinking I'd rather have the Luton defender. Saves you taking that minus. You still get a double game week. I think that's just probably the better way to go about it.
Yeah, that's what I'll do, especially if Senesi's injured.
Yeah.
I think I will bring Mengi in. So yeah, I'm in agreement there.
Cool. Arvo's asked again, I have 8 players at the moment for 29. Have Reguilon, Doherty and Powell. Who would you buy for Estupinian for game week 28? I mean, you've already got a Luton defender. So maybe, and this is one that I've been looking at for my team, is Robinson from Fulham. Got Wolves this week. Is Tottenham in the blank? It's not the easiest of fixture, but his heat map, it's looking pretty good. So he's been my top recommendation.
Mm, yeah, fair enough. Who else is other in the blank? Maybe an Emerson. I don't know. I don't know if I fancy West Ham defensively though. That's the only thing.
Yeah, Nico Williams from Forest, maybe bring it back.
Mm. Although to be fair, he didn't start against Liverpool. He only played like 20 minutes.
Oh, has he really gone downhill? I've not really looked at Forest players this year.
No, he was bought as their number 7 big boy, but it was like Lingard when he was supposed to be like that main man of Forest, and then Forest realised they actually had some kind of weird pull and
Interesting.
have signed players that are better. Like they've signed a bloody World Cup winner to take Nico Williams' place now, haven't they?
Oh, that's sad. Sorry, Nico. Well, rest in peace, Nico.
Rest in peace, indeed.
Right, we're going to move on and take a look at how my team fared in Game Week 27. Do keep your questions coming in. We will try and answer some more a little bit later on in today's stream. But let's take a look at how my team did in Game Week 27. And you know what? We're back, baby. Back-to-back green arrows, 86 points scored, 209,000 in the world right now. We are climbing up every single week, slowly clawing our way back. And you know what? It's a pretty good week. I can't complain. I did go for Areola in goal, mainly down to the fact that I don't actually have another goalkeeper. So, you know, I'm not really left with too much of a choice. Gabriel did me sweet, keeping a clean sheet. Konza is probably the worst transfer I've made this season. I think he's yet to get me a combined total of 10 points being in my team. Not good. Senesi injury, frustrating. The midfield absolutely went off. Phil Foden, excellent. Odegaard was brilliant against Sheffield United. Bowen got me a little bit of an assist as well, continuing his good form after the hat-trick last week. Went with Saka captain. Was a little bit annoyed that he came off at half-time. Even if he just got to the 60th minute, there's a couple extra points as well for clean sheet and making it past the 60th minute mark. So it would have made it a lot more of a better option than going for Haaland. Haaland up front for me did get the goal. Unfortunately, that did carve into a little bit of our rank, but it is what it is. Watkins, absolutely killer. You know, he's smashing it, as we've said. Solanke was a doubt, but I did stick it out and he did play in the end. Bench, nothing else other than the Doherty assist that's a little bit frustrating, but everything else pretty much the same as is. So a pretty good week for me. Can't complain.
I don't understand how I'm not in the green. I'm 4 points above average, so how would I have gone down in rank? I don't get that.
It depends what the safety score is for the week. So the average and safety score are two different things.
Oh.
So there'll be I think the safety score for this week was 72. So if you got below, if you got below 72, you ain't getting a green arrow.
I wanted a red arrow anyway.
They're more cooler. They're more in trend, really.
They are, yeah.
Yeah. They're for the cool kids, really. All these green arrows. These green arrows are just overrated.
Don't want any of that green arrow mock, not at all.
No, not in the slightest. Right, let's take a look at how my team is lining up for this double game week. Areola in goal. Again, don't have another goalkeeper, but Burnley at home. They've failed to score in the past 3 games, I believe now. So hopefully another clean sheet or at least some points for Areola would be good. Gabriel against Brentford at home. I'm very confident they should be keeping a clean sheet there for that one. Doherty's in for the double. He's playing again, so he's not going to get any attacking returns. He's just going to come away with 2 and another double because he's frustrating. Senesi, he is a problem, so he might have to come out of the team. We do have 2 free transfers going into this week, I believe. So I do need to at least make 1. Senesi to Robinson is the current thought process that I'm going through because I do want to keep Phil Foden. I'm very happy to keep both Odegaard and Saka, mainly down to the fact that Brentford are currently sat 20th for XG conceded over the past 5 game weeks. They are stinking up down the bottom. Jared Bowen with Burnley, great fixture. Then we've got Haaland, Watkins and Solanke. I think Solanke is just going to get the armband, to be honest. That double is just too tempting. even if, you know, Saka's is playing against a terrible defence and Arsenal are cooking at the moment. I think that double's just too good for Dominic Solanke. The bench kind of writes itself. Garnacho against Everton. Konza's, again, he's hopefully never seeing my team again. And then 1 point Charlie as is. So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Obviously, the Senesi move is probably going to be the one that we're going to have to deal with this week. But everything else, I'm pretty set with, to be honest.
Garnacho scored that naughty goal against Everton, though, didn't he?
Why did you say that? Why did you go and say that, eh? Who would you realistically drop him for then?
No one. No. I just thought I'd throw you off the scent a little bit.
But yeah,
I don't think I'd change that, to be honest. Are you not going Haaland for Morris? No.
I am. But then at the same time, I've also seen his data for the past few weeks, and he has been incredibly unlucky not to absolutely destroy someone in the Premier League.
Who, Haaland?
Yeah.
Oh, well, lad, why would you have faith in it this weekend?
Because you might not have Kelleher. It might be... is it Adrian?
Adrian!
Yeah, if you've got Adrian in goal, I am very confident that he'll go and score.
If we've got Adrian in goal, I think Pep will play Oscar Bob up top, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it depends what sort of minutes Haaland gets, to be honest, tonight. If he plays like a full 90 tonight, I might be tempted to dip and go Carlton Morris V2.
Yeah, to be fair, though, even if he plays 90 minutes, I really can't see him not playing.
Against you, yeah.
It's just one of those, though, isn't it? Because you say you've got 2 free transfers. You could at least you're not going to need to bring Haaland back for 2 weeks.
I'm wildcarding. He'll be back in for that.
When are you wildcarding?
30 or 31, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't need to worry about him. So I reckon you just go for it, lad.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. This is like the friend they tell you to worry about in Dare. You're too Dare, that drug thing at school. Where they're like, oh yeah, that friend that peer pressures you into doing smack at the park. This is
just
what
do
you
that bump, lad.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Haaland's like the good grades at school, getting a good job, you know, house, kids, dog, wife, car, all that. But you're there offering me a nice powdered bag and going, come sniff this with me down.
For Carlton Morris.
Yeah, for Carlton Morris. Come on.
But the thing is, though, no one's ever said that bag ain't tempting.
Well, yeah. You can get addicted to the bag as well.
So Carlton Morris.
The Carlton Morris.
Bag. I think you've got to go for it, especially if you're thinking of wild card. And what have you got? What? I don't think there's anything you can perceivably think that could go against you. I know Haaland could slap, but the fixture, if anything, I think the fixture couldn't scream to you to take a gamble more than away to Liverpool. I don't think there's a fixture in the Prem that Haaland could have this weekend which wouldn't tempt you into it more. I don't think there's a harder game for Haaland.
I don't know though.
I'm not saying it won't. I'm not saying you won't regret it, but Haaland away to Liverpool, then a blank. Oh, Carlton Morris, man.
Bloody Carlton Morris. Oh, it just... There's another player...
My respect for you, FPL Tom, will go right up.
I don't care about your respect. It's worthless. It's worthless. I want the respect of all the peasants.
Get a poll in. Get a poll. Do you have to cancel this poll to do another poll?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll do one on Twitter.
Well, do one on at least do one on the deadline stream you have.
Yeah.
Of should I play Haaland or bring in Morris?
Haaland or Carlton Morris.
Oh, mate, it's got to be. This is Big Willie all over again.
It is, and I'll bottle it last minute, and he'll go and score.
You're making me think now. Do I just bring Morris in?
Oh, God, what have I started? Morris season V2 does sound good, though.
It sounds gorgeous.
It does sound really good.
Away to Palace, away to Bournemouth. Thing is, though, they could very easily, because they're both away games, they could very easily just not score in either of those games. If they were both home games, it'd be a different story, wouldn't it? Because they like scoring at home.
Well, I was looking as well. I think Palace are 6 and Bournemouth are 8 for XG conceded. So they're not bad defence. They're not bad defenses.
Well, it was 1-1, wasn't it? 1-1. Luton Bournemouth game was 1-1 and it got abandoned. So I wonder who scored in that. Like,
It wasn't
was it?
Carlton. It wasn't
Are
Carlton.
you sure?
He was injured, I think.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be bloody Adebayo then probably. It was. Yeah, it was Adebayo
There we
from
go.
an Alfie Doherty corner.
Oh well, that's him sorted. Then he'll be playing.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh, I think it'd be so funny if you brought him in because, like, I don't think he's going to do more than score a goal or two. And like, who's to say that Carlton Morris can't do the same in a double?
True. 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 My only other concern is Son as well
No,
this week.
sorry, hold on. A triple?
What do you mean a
You're
triple?
you're you're putting Haaland against Liverpool over Carlton Morris against Palace, Bournemouth, and Forest.
Right.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like you've got like Morris has got 3 games to get what Haaland gets against Liverpool. Oh, lad, I'm doing it.
He's
I'm
talked.
keeping Foden in. Foden stays because Foden's got a good record against Liverpool.
You just talked yourself into bringing in Carlton Morris. You haven't talked me into doing it. You just talked yourself into doing it.
But do you not see the logic there?
I do see the logic, mate. I do. And I get what you mean. And I probably will be very tempted over the next few days to bring him in. But, like I was going to say, I'm a little bit scared of Son more than
Right.
Haaland. And I don't really have a clear way to get to Son.
You could, if you were to do Haaland for Morris,
Oh.
and then Son can come in for anyone in midfield. Maybe a Garnacho,
Well, they
even
could
you could
actually
afford
go
it.
out for Garnacho, yeah, actually. But then who would I
And then
drop?
probably have to be Bowen, wouldn't it?
No, a Burnley. No, 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 not against Burnley.
Well, I wouldn't. Like you said, if Arsenal playing against Bowen never goes off, though, does he? And neither does. No, I've got to stand by it. It'd have to be Bowen.
That's a
Um,
that's a bold one. That a man who's got 4 attacking returns in his past 2
well, then
games.
in which case, you say you only need to do 1 transfer minimum. So why don't you just Harlan for Morris and do Son next week?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Son for Foden next week.
Oh well, in that
But
case,
I'm
I don't.
just a little bit scared Son's gonna slap this week.
You might do. It is away to Villa, though, isn't it?
It is away to Villa, yeah.
I know he scored. I know he said he scored a hat trick. I don't think that comes around all that often. Like I know that I may believe that he'll be confident and will score and stuff, but I don't think Villa are that shit anymore.
Okay, all right, all right.
Oh lad, you've got to do it,
No, I don't have to do it. Stop trying to peer pressure me.
lad. I'll join you in the cubicle as well if you do it. I'll do it.
Oh, for God's
I'll lend you the
sake. For God's sake. Right, let's move on before I lose my mind. We're going to talk about double game week players. So we're going to continue the Carlton Morris debate, but in a more general sense rather than our own teams. I've outlined, I think, probably my favourite 5 assets for this double game week, to be honest. Solanke, Morris, Zabania, Tavernier, and Doherty. So we're going to start off with Dominic Solanke. For people that don't own him, I probably would say he is the top priority for this double game week. Would you agree with that statement, Jake?
Yeah, I don't think he can. I don't think you'll find anyone in their right mind that would disagree with that statement. I don't think you need to say much about Solanke. I think the stats speak for themselves, and I think you really need to have him in, regardless of the fact that they've got probably one of the easiest double game weeks on paper that you could imagine.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. Do you think potentially he's the number 1 captain choice as well for this week?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, of course, you can never go against. You can never argue with people that will stick to Haaland. You can never argue with people that go for people like Saka and Watkins, who are in such blisteringly hot form. But I think people that want to just change it up a bit and don't want to go that safe bet and want to go for something that could actually really benefit if it works in their favour. I think Solanke makes sense because, like we say, on paper, their fixtures couldn't be any easier for a double. Solanke will score against pretty much anyone. He did score against Luton before that game was abandoned, unfortunately, but like he did score in that game. Can't tell you off the top of my head how he did against Sheffield United, but I can't imagine him to have too many issues at home to Sheffield and at home to Luton. So yeah, I feel like you've got to captain him if you get that opportunity. But once again, like I say, I understand if people are going to commit to Saka or Watkins or Haaland, but have some fun.
Have some fun indeed. Like you said, it is one of the best double game weeks you could ever imagine on paper. So why would you not go for a player like Dominic Solanke?
Exactly.
Right, let's move on to the man very hot in discussion at the moment. It is Carlton Morris, potentially V2 season for both me and you, Jake. 8 goals, 6 assists so far this season for him. Second highest scoring player out of these two sides as well. So he's not been a bad player throughout the Premier League season. But I think the big debate for a lot of people is which forward is it worth sacrificing to get Morris in?
Yeah, well, I think I've hit the jackpot really
Haaland.
by talking about Haaland, but I feel like that, of course, is very dependent on what your plans are. I think it works very nicely for someone like you that might be wildcarding in a couple of weeks. It works out for me, who, if I were to do that, would be able to keep that money aside and not invest it elsewhere, so that I can easily bring Haaland back when I need to. But if you need money elsewhere, you need to like opt for other players and stuff. You're looking at the likes of Son. You're looking at like players that have been in really good form that you haven't had in that you need, or you're thinking of someone like Salah who may be back in the next few weeks. Like I feel like you've just got to be wary that bringing Haaland out for Morris is not the answer long term. It's maybe a great answer and may hit gold dust over the next 2 weeks, purely because you've got Morris who's got 3 games over Haaland's arguably most difficult game week of the season for him. I think that works out nicely, but once we get to game week 30, you need to be getting Haaland back in, I think.
I agree with that statement. They do play Arsenal in game week 30, but even still after that, probably still worth having Erling Haaland in, to be honest. So like you said, I do agree with that statement. Morris, for people that are potentially wildcarding 31, 32, 30 even, probably a little bit of a cheeky gamble for the next 2 weeks that could pay off massively and might be
Yeah,
worth going for it. Maybe.
because if you can keep that money aside, you'll be sound. Because come that game week where City have that game against Arsenal, and then it eases up a little bit and a little bit more and more and more. Luton have Tottenham, Arsenal, Bournemouth, City. So like it really does just switch completely. So it would work then come game week 30 or even 31 if you want to hold off on Haaland again because of the Arsenal game. I wouldn't personally. I'd bring him back for that Arsenal game. Then if you held onto your money and you've just done that for 2 game weeks, I think it could work really well.
Well, we'll have to wait and see because it might be happening in both our sides as well. Moving on to Zabania. Obviously, he's become the top popular defensive asset from Bournemouth ahead of their double game week, with Senesi potentially picking up a longer term injury and missing out the double game week. 4.4 million. There's no real frills with this one. He is just a defensive player, doesn't really get involved in kind of the attacking side of the game. You recommend him, Jake? 4.4 million if you need a defender?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. It just depends on what else you've got. Maybe if you haven't already committed to a Senesi and you're planning on doing that, then maybe Zabani is just like that like for like replacement. Not specifically in the goal scoring assets, as you can see from the stats. He doesn't seem to be that person that you rely on in the box. Maybe when you get a set piece, maybe that would be someone that would be replacing Senesi, maybe a Chris Mepham or someone that maybe a gamble worth taking if we find out closer to the game week that Senesi isn't going to feature. You'd imagine Chris. It is Chris Mepham, isn't it?
I think Chris Mepham's gone, hasn't he?
No, it was Mepham. No, what I was asking is it Chris Mepham? Because I know it's Mepham. I just don't know if it's Chris. I know he came off the bench for Senesi.
Let me have a look for you, mate. Let me have a look.
Well, anyway, whoever Senesi's
It's Chris.
replaced,
It's Chris.
it is Chris.
Yeah.
So he's probably more likely to be that aerial threat that Zabani never has been, that Senesi has maybe offered at set pieces. But I just like, once again, going back to Bournemouth's fixtures, home to Sheffield United, home to Luton, he could still come away with this, do absolutely nothing in the opposition's half in those 2 game weeks and come away with at least 12 points. So He's definitely a worthwhile punter, especially if you don't have Senesi or if you don't have a Bournemouth defender or goalkeeper.
True. I'm just going to throw a little bit of a caveat ball in here. Obviously,
Go on.
Senesi's pretty much played every single game for Bournemouth so far. You imagine losing such a key defensive figure. Is that potentially going to influence their kind of defensive structure, maybe their ability to keep clean sheets as well, and maybe that lessens the impact of Zabania as an asset in the game?
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, the only positive about Zabani is his defensive prowess. Because he's not going to concede and then go and score down the other end. Something maybe Senesi could have been capable of. So I do agree with what you're saying. The only evidence we have of Zabani having that partnership with someone other than Senesi was at the weekend when Mapham came off the bench, and it was early doors. It must have been in the first
It was
quarter of the game.
11 minutes in, I think.
Yeah, there we go. So they seem to settle very well. And it was, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a much better game to settle in a new partnership at the back against Burnley, who really do struggle. But yeah, I think that is a good point to keep an eye on, maybe be wary of.
Mm.
Maybe that's when you consider someone else like a Menji or something. But I don't think you're really going to. I don't think if you're going for someone if you're doubting Bournemouth keeping two clean sheets, I don't think you're going to be looking for a defender to keep clean sheets in these doubles because Luton would be very, very lucky or would have done something majestical if they managed to keep more clean sheets against Palace and Bournemouth away from home in both those games
Mm.
than Zabani at home to Sheffield and Luton, regardless of the partnership he has.
Well, interestingly on that, I'll come on to speak about Tavernier in a bit and kind of midfielders, but we've got Doherty on this list as well. And do you
Yeah.
think maybe he's worth the gamble that little bit more over Zabania? Like, his attacking returns so far this season have been pretty good. He's on a lot of set pieces as well. But like you said, Luton defensively, they just don't keep clean sheets. But
Mm.
attacking wise, he seems to be ticking on very nicely.
I think if you are going into this game week completely clear minded and don't have any of these Bournemouth or Luton assets, I think defensively Doherty is the number one person to have
Hmm.
because I think you've got to look at it that both sides, even Bournemouth, are very capable of conceding goals. Like you mentioned, Senesi, their main man at the back is injured potentially. I think Doherty is then the number one person to have in that defensive line because he's the most likely out of both sides to get an assist and maybe even come up with a goal because he doesn't half get into some attacking positions for Luton. So I would agree. I would say Doherty is probably number one to bring in. I think Senesi is the only real guy that you really bank on to be able to keep a clean sheet and to score. Doherty is then second place because he's capable of getting an assist, may get a goal scoring opportunity, but you're not banking necessarily on Luton keeping a clean sheet there.
Fair enough. All right, I like that. Finishing up, let's talk about midfielders from both sides. I think we kind of have outlined that we're not too keen on any real midfielders. I've picked the highest scoring one. It is Tavernier, but as you can see, not really lighting up the goals and assist column, is he?
No, no, he's really not. It's he's getting the game time. To be fair to him, like he does seem to be the most consistent player in that midfield.
Hmm.
Surprised to see how little game time Philip Billing's getting because he always seemed that person that linked up really well with Solanke, especially in the last couple of years. But now he seems to struggle to get a look in. I
Yeah,
think Clivert's taken his place a little bit more, but there is still that risk of just players being like swapped and changed and rotated, not starting, coming off after 60 minutes. So I feel like you've just said, like midfielders for both sides are a little bit smelly because you just cannot guarantee that they will play. Don't get me wrong, we're going to come back to this guaranteed coming looking at game week 29 and the people that will have banked on the right midfielder for Bournemouth will probably be laughing because there's no doubt there's a good probability that one of Tavernier, Clivert, Sinistera, or even Belling are going to get a double-digit haul. It's just no one can really bank on who that's going to be.
agree. I think that's a great way of summarising it, to be honest. I think it's the same for Luton as well. I think as well with the quality of the other midfield options as well. Like, people are potentially sacrificing KDB for Ross Barkley. You know what I mean? The quality of midfield options we've got in the game at the moment, just don't think they're worth it for any of these kind of very patchy at best players.
Yeah, because I can at least you can at least argue the point of Morris because he's in a good goal scoring run. He does seem to be, well, he's on set piece. He's on
Takes
the penalties.
penalties, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's scoring from set pieces. He's involved week after week. So at least there with the Haaland comparison, in a game week, if you put them both head to head, there are plenty of occasions when they have matched each other. De Bruyne to Barkley is a much trickier thing to compare because Barkley doesn't really pop up. He looks good on the ball and he has played really well for Luton, but I think he just isn't involved on the goal scoring market or getting those assists that you'd really consider him for the next 3 games. Because you have to, of course, remember that you are comparing a City player for 1 game and a Luton player for 3 games. It does match it up a lot more, but I actually you could more than see, as much as we say a Tavernier, a Clivert, or someone could, or even a Barkley could get 10 points. You could also see Barkley getting 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that may be a bit of a waste, but at the same time, I admire anyone that goes for it because it wants, like we keep saying, it could pay off. It really could. I think the main thing you have to do is, if you're going for this, is one, accept the consequences if City do smash Liverpool, De Bruyne or Foden or Haaland, whoever you've sacrificed for a Luton asset does do well. You've just got to accept it. But then also you need to make sure you're maintaining those funds and not spending them elsewhere on that blank game week come next week so that you can bring a De Bruyne or a Haaland or a Foden back in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's kind of nicely rounded that off. Before we finish up, we're going to answer some of your guys' question and announce bed chitter of the week. So we're going to do that first. And it's quite a landslide victory here for one man. I feel he's stung a lot of palms. It's not the right way of saying it. It is Senesi. The YouTube poll has decided it actually wants to calculate it correctly this week.
Oh, wow.
I know, yeah. 75% of the vote for him, 25% for Kieran Trippier. So quite a landslide victory in the end for him. So congratulations. He's fully going to go and score after we all sell him, isn't he, this week? Iriola's going to say he's out, and then he's fully just going to get a hat-trick.
The only reason I think I would get rid of him if this is if our Iriol.
Oh, we may have lost Jake right at the end of the stream. Well, this would be a turn-up for the Bucks. We've managed to keep him throughout the whole stream, and then he's gone right at the last minute. So while we wait for Jake, potentially to come back, or maybe never to come back, I'm just going to run through quickly some of your guys' questions. St. Ledger has said, morning from Drizzy Auckland. Seriously considering keeping KDB over Son. Villa's home four is great, and there is every chance Liverpool City is a high-scoring game. Completely agree with that. I think it's a little bit of a difficult one for Son. I feel if it was a lot better of a fixture, it'd make complete sense to sell him. But obviously, with it being a little bit more of a difficult potential week, I do get the sentiment. Obviously, KDB's been rested tonight in the Champions League as well, so you would expect him to see a large majority of that game. But I do think Son is a really good asset to go for as well, especially if you're looking to not use that free hit next week. Jake is calling me back, so let's get him back into the stream. Says he's on hold. Oh, okay. Well, we're going to answer. And is he back?
That was weird.
Well, you're now just a telephone call. You're no longer a video call. So, well, we'll just have you as a telephone call for now, Jake.
It's like we're on like 5 Live or something. We just got a phone in.
Yeah, we've got a phone in. We're just going through people's questions, mate, while you were dialing back in. Someone says, I will likely bring in Morris this week, free hitting, then Salah in. It will result in the following 2 options, Gordon and Haaland, or Son and Tony starting game week 30. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. I mean, go for Morris. Someone also said, I thought Solanke was unimpressive last game. Apparently, he was still feeling a little bit of pain from his injury as well. So that might be one.
I can remember because, of course, I brought him in. But maybe he's not hot topic in that game. But I was watching the game because, of course, I'd seen Neto do absolutely nothing. I'd seen Kudus get the assist, and I'd gone for Solanke. So I was banking on him to do something. He had a good opportunity, which was well saved from Trafford, and he set up Semenya, who really should have scored. Right. So I do think, as much as you might say he didn't do very well, and he definitely got the 2 points, he was very close to getting a goal and an assist. So it works both ways.
It does indeed. Cheeky second question from St. Ledger. He says, have Dubravka and Kelleher no free hit in 29? Is it worth bringing in Kaminsky for a -4?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well. You get the double. You get a game next week. Yeah, fuck it. Go for it, mate. There you go. That's my advice on that one.
Okay.
Someone's also asked, is Semenyo a crazy punt? I feel as a former Semenyo owner, Jake, you can kind of speak for that one.
It depends who your front three are. I think the only reason why I wouldn't go for him now is because of the fact that I've got Watkins, I've got Solanke, and I've got Haaland, and I think I'd be more inclined to go for Morris. Because he's more likely to play the majority of the game and he'll take the penalties. So then you've got the 2 penalty takers. Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're here. You're still
Am
here.
I there?
Don't worry.
Yeah, just said chat disconnected. Please wait while we reconnect you. So I was like,
Uh-oh.
But yeah, by having Solanke and Morris, you've got both penalty takers for either side in the double. Semenyo, he does seem to be a little bit more consistent now with the rotation because of the fact that he scored against Newcastle, he scored against Burnley now. I don't think he's a terrible shout to bring in for this double, but it just depends who you're taking out, because if you're taking out Haaland or you're taking out a Watkins is going to play in the blank, so I think that'll be a little bit foolish. But if you're taking out Haaland and you don't have Morris, I think I'd be more inclined to go for him.
All right. Lovely, nicely summed up there. Dan the Man has said Bowen or Barkley. For me, Bowen's clear.
Yeah,
Burnley in a game next week. Easy.
Yeah. Agreed with that. Can't argue with that at all.
And then someone said, do you give personal advice to your viewers? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. So if you need any help with life, maybe you're going through a bit of divorce. The wife wants the kids and the dog. That's fine. Get it in the chat. We'll try and help you out. Finishing up, I'm going to ask Jake, of course, our favourite question. It is going to be the highest scoring game of the game week, Jake. Give it to me. What are you saying?
Do I go for that one or do I not?
Oh dear.
You know what I am? I'm going to go for Arsenal-Brentford. I think that's going to be their, 4th big slapping in a row, just as they prepare themselves for a City humbling. But yeah, I think they could put another 4, 5, 6 past Brentford, with your statistics helping me along the way to that decision.
Nice.
And hopefully, come next week, City keep them a little bit quieter.
All right, I'm going to go for Wolves Fulham.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, classic. A classic. All right, well,
yeah.
I think that's going to leave it there, because it's basically become a radio show with just my face on it at the moment. As always, I will be doing a deadline stream.
I've got a job now, so give it a couple of months. Well, probably for next season's stream. I'll actually have a webcam.
Oh, he's pushing the boat out. He's pushing the boat out. So yeah, we will be live. Well, I'll be live at least for the deadline on Saturday morning. Jake will probably appear in the chat and say that he's brought back Semenyo in or someone else. Ross Barkley's made it in
I think
his
it's
team.
going to be Morris, and I think it's going to be triple captain Solanke is what you're going to hear.
Oh, that's what I love to see. That is what I love to see. But like I said, yeah, I will be live for the deadline at 9 a.m. So if you want to come along to that on YouTube and on TikTok, I'll try and answer as many of your guys' questions. We also will be doing team reviews as well. So follow me on Twitter if you do want your team reviewing. But thank you very much from me. And I'm guessing a thank you from you, Jake.
Yep, thanks. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.